In this lesson, we are going to explore the count family of functions. These functions are used to count values in a given column or data table. And you have to be very careful about these functions because they are inconsistent. I mean, the way one of these functions doesn't work exactly as the other one works. So there's some inconsistency in the way they work, and that's why, although very important and useful, these functions have to be used with caution. Okay, this is the table I will be working with, and this is a short table, and working with a short table is a good way to compare the results you get in Power BI because you can actually eyeball and you can count, and instantly you can know the results by yourself from this original table, and then I can compare with the results I got from my functions in Power BI, and then I can be sure if my plans are going right or not. And you can see that these cells, they are blank strings. Okay, they are blank strings. For these three rows, I only have blank strings. And if you don't know what a blank string is or a no value, you can see that in this row I only have no values. These cells are totally blank. And if you still don't know the difference between blank strings and actually no cells, blank values, please go back and watch. We have a specific lesson in our Power Query Foundations course. There's a lesson specifically on this topic, and you absolutely need to understand it before you can move forward in this lesson right now. So if you are not familiar with this difference, please stop here, go watch that class, and then come back here, okay? And okay, let's go back to Power BI. And in Power BI, this is the imported table. You can see that we actually have these three rows, and these three rows represent the rows in which you have blank strings. And this row, second to last row, this is the one with no values. And let's use the count function to count how many values we have in this actually in this column right here, because when we import the table in Power BI, we won't necessarily have the tables, the columns in the same order as in Excel. Actually, you can see here that in Excel, the first name column is going to be my first column, but after importing it in Power BI, the first name column is the third column. So you won't necessarily have the same column order in Power BI. No worries, I know the name of the column I'm going to use is first name, and this is the one we are going to work on right now. I already have a measure that I created initially, but I'm just going to change this measure to use the count function. I'm going to use the count function. I'm going to count the values from the employees table. I'm going to count the values in the first name column. We already know this. And I will hit enter. Let me open up the column list. There you go. And you can see that the count is 11, but well, in Excel, you can see that I have 12, my table has 12 rows, And you can think, hey, but, well, I see 13 here. Well, yeah, you're right. But actually, the first column, the first row, actually, it corresponds to the column header. So we don't, of course, we don't count the first row as data. The data is here. So actually, we can see from the short table that we only have 12 rows in this table. And of course, the DAX function, it's going to work the same way for 10 rows or for 10 billion rows. You don't have to have necessarily a long table so you can learn how to use the functions, because these functions are going to work the same way regardless of the number of rows in the table. And you may be asking, okay, but why, if I have 12 rows in the table, why is Power BI giving me 11? And the answer is because the count function will not count the no values. How many no values do you have in the table? We are actually only using this column, the first name column. And in the first name column, one of these values is actually a no value, and it's not counting this one. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, because it's counting the blank strings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and David 11. It's not counting the no value. In case I, for example, let me delete the blank string from these three cells. Now we have four null values, no cells actually, 4 null cells. And if the count function is not counting the null cells, so it was supposed to give me only 8, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So let me save this change, and I have to close out of the of Excel before I can update my Power BI project. And now in Power BI, let me refresh it. And actually my count is 8 because now I have 4 null values. So you can see that the count function does not count null cells, but it will count blank strings. Hey, a lot of people watch my videos, learn a bunch, but forget to hit the like button or subscribe to the channel. If you've made it this far, it means the content helped you somehow. So go ahead and give it a like and hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating free content like this, and it also tells YouTube to show you more videos like this one. It's quick and it makes a big difference. Thanks. Actually, if I go back, let me open the Excel file again, and okay, let me make it blank strings. Okay, now these are all blank strings again, and I'm going to copy this row and paste them here, and you can see that now I don't have any null values anymore in this column, and now the count was supposed to be 12 because now the blank strings were supposed to be counted. And back to Power BI, let's refresh it, and there you go. Now we have 12 values. Okay, it's not counting the nulls, but it's counting the blank strings. And now let's try another one. Okay, let's use the count blank function. And this function is supposed to do the opposite. The count function was counting all the values that were not null. So the count blank was supposed to be the opposite, right? It was supposed to count only the null values. In this case, right now, in my original table, I no longer have no cells. All of them are filled, and the ones that look blank, they're not blank, they are only blank strings. Okay, so let's see what happens using the count blank function. I will hit enter, and now it's only giving me 4. And well, the count function was disconsidering the null values. So the count blank, wasn't it supposed to count only the null values? Since we have no values in our table, now our table has all rows filled. We don't have any null value here. So wasn't the count supposed to be 0 here? Yeah, it would. Okay, so let's give it another try. Let's do it different. In Excel, now I will delete everything from this row again. And now I know these values are actually null. I'm going to save it and close it and refresh Power BI. Now let me refresh it, and the count is still 4. Okay, let's try again. Now I'm going to delete the content of these 2 rows. So now I have a blank string here, and here it's no, and no, totally blank. And I will save and close it and refresh in Power BI. And again, it's still giving me a 4 as the result of the count blank functions. And what can you infer from that? You can infer, actually you can observe that the count blank functions will count as blank both the null values and the blank strings. That's why I say these functions this family of functions is inconsistent, and that's why you saw that the count function, it will only ignore the null cells, but it won't ignore the blank strings. But the count blank, it was supposed to be the opposite, right? It was supposed only to count as blank the null cells to be consistent with the count function, but it's not consistent. Actually, the count blank functions will count as blank both the null cells and the blank strings. So please be very careful about it, because you could think they work under the same scope, under the same logic, and you may, for example, test one of them and see the result is okay, and then you create another measure with another function in the family, thinking they are all consistent, and then if you don't double check this new measure, maybe this new measure can give you an incorrect result, and it can harm actually the informative power of your dashboard. And now let's use the count rows function. The count rows function, it has the same scope, the same objective, only the count rows function, it's not going to count the values in a single column. You can see we tested the count function and it's going to work properly only on a single column. The COUNTBLANK function is also going to work on a single column, but if you try to use the count rows function, it's not going to work on a single column. You can see this red squiggly line. It means there's something wrong in your formula. And that's why. It's because the count rows function, it counts the rows considering the entire table. In this case, the only argument of this function will be the table's name. So it's going to consider each row of the table throughout all of the columns. Let me show you. In this case, it's not going to count column by column. It's going to count the number of rows for the entire table, like I said, across all of its columns. In this case, it's not worried about if the content of a certain cell is blank or not, or a blank string or no or not. It's just going to count each row of the entire table. In this case, regardless of being empty or not, you know that the table has 12 rows, and that's the number Power BI is returning. This one is really simple. Now let's use the DISTINCTCOUNT function. The DISTINCTCOUNT, as you can infer, is going to give you the count of distinct values, which means I'm going to use again the first name column from the employees table, and let me hit enter, and this will give you 9. And why 9? Let's see. It will only count each value once. For example, Guy, you can see that Guy appears twice, and it will not count Guy as 2. Of course, you know that this could be Guy Gilbert, this could be Guy Roberts, and these would be different people. But as we're only considering this first column, it's not considering the second column, even if here you have Guy Robertson. So these are different people, okay? These are different people. They have different last names, but Power BI doesn't know it, as you're only asking it to count the numbers, to count the values from the first name column. In the first name column, Guy is the same as Guy. So this value is being repeated. So Power BI will not count it twice. It's only going to count it once, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And remember, these two rows are no, and this row is no, and this row is a blank string. It doesn't matter to the DISTINCTCOUNT function if a cell is blank or if it has a blank string or whatever. It's not worried about there being a value or not in each cell. It's only worried about counting the different categories. So you could think like this. This function is counting how many categories do you have in the column. In this case, Guy, it's just one category, and then Kevin, it's another one, it's a single one. Anna is also a unique one. Mary is a unique one. Rob is a unique one. The blank string, it is a unique one, and the null cells, they are another unique category. So now you understand why that counts. You can count Guy as just one category, then Kevin 2, Anna 3, Mary 4, Rob 5, blank string 6, no values 7, Gail 8, and David 9. And that's why you get a 9. And now let's work on the last function of this class, which is the DISTINCTCOUNTNOBLANK. DISTINCTCOUNTNOBLANK. It works the same way. The only difference is that it's going to ignore the blank cells in a given column. But is it going to consider as blank only the no values, or the no values in the blank strings, or only the blank strings? So again, we have to check to see the difference, if it works the same way as the count function or the COUNTBLANK function. So again, these functions are inconsistent. So let's check it out and see actually how it works. We know that right now we have only one blank string in the table and 3 nulls. So let's see what's going to happen. Okay, now we have 8 8 as a result. And why is that? Well, let's try to find that same 8 that we found in Power BI. Let's try to find it here. We know that Guy counts as 1, Kevin is a unique value, so 2, Anna is unique, 3, Mary 4, Rob 5, Gail 6, David 7, and as we got an 8 from Power BI, there's 1 missing, and we know that that 1 is coming from among these 4 apparently blank cells. But we need 1 more, right? And we have only 1 blank string and 3 no values. That kind of suggests that the DistinctCountNoBlank function is counting this blank string because it gives us 1 more, right? And this would close the account. And okay, so let's do this. I'm going to copy this blank string down, and I'm going to fill all the nulls with blank strings. And if it's true that the function is counting the blank strings, so we were supposed to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and all of these values would be blank strings, will count as 1, so we would still be with 8. Let me save it, close, and refresh Power BI. And yeah, actually we have 8 unique values. And now let's try another idea. Now let me replace all of the blank strings with nothing. I'm just going to delete all of these blank strings. And if it's true that the DistinctCountNoBlank functions is counting the blank strings but not the nulls, then now it was not supposed to count these nulls. It wasn't supposed to count these nulls, and I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, only 7. And the function was supposed to ignore all of the all of these no cells, because again, we're working only with the first name column. Okay, so I'm expecting 7. I'm going to save it and close it. And now let's refresh it. And there you go, we have 7. It means the DistinctCountNoBlank function only counts as blank the no values, while the COUNTBlank function, it counts both the blank strings as the nulls as blanks. So you can see that there's a lot of confusion, and these are very important and useful functions, especially when you're using them as part of a larger formula, when they are just one component of a more complex formula. So they are very, very useful, but you have to be very careful. It's hard to remember these differences. I can't remember them. So every time you use one of these functions, please make sure to test it before, just to remember and make sure it's working properly, so you won't have any undesired surprise. And if you like this video, please don't forget to like. We really need your help here. Your like and your comments will help us get to more people and grow our channel and keep motivated to produce this kind of content. And see you in the next lesson.